Now, Mr. Jones, on the 21st of February 2000, you attended at the Northcote Police Station.
Yes.
How did you come to be attending there, please?
I received a call from Greensborough. They coordinate the program, requesting me to go down there for an interview.
And you were an independent third person, were you?
No, an independent person.
An independent person. And how long had you been an independent person?
It'd be approximately 5 or 6 years.
And what does that entail, please?
Sorry.
How do you become an independent person?
Sorry.
How do you become one?
I read an article in the local newspaper where they were setting up. They were calling for volunteers for independent persons, so I applied. Attended an information centre, put my name down, went through the selection procedure where they have police checks and all that, a training session afterwards, and that was basically it.
On 21 February, you say you were contacted by the Greensborough Police Station.
Yes.
And you attended at Northcote. Do you recall at what time?
I think it was just after lunch.
When you attended Northcote Police Station, what happened, please?
I was introduced. Firstly, I asked the police what was the charge.
Do you remember which police you spoke to?
I believe it was Constable Smith.
So you found out some information about Mr. Reid?
Yes, I found out the information of the charges and what they intended to do at the end of the day as to whether there'd be bail on summons or remand.
Yes.
And then they introduced me to Mr. Reid.
Right. When you were introduced to Mr. Reid, where was that in relation to the layout of the police station?
It would have been in, just orientating myself, in the middle interview room, which is sort of midway down the police station.
And once you were introduced to Mr. Reid, what happens?
The police will leave us alone for a short time.
When you say will leave us alone, just tell us what did you do?
What did I do? I introduced myself to Mr. Reid, informed him what my role was there. That was, did it voluntarily. I'm not employed by the police force at all. Then I went through what would be occurring on the day, went through the formal caution that they give him, the rights.
Yes.
Let him know that at the end of it the sergeant would come in and go through the attendance register, ask him if he had any complaints.
Yes. During that conversation you had with Mr. Reid, did he say anything to you?
Yes.
What was that?
When I got to the part about the sergeant attending and asking if he had any complaints, he said to me, "They bashed me."
What did you do about that?
I told him that it would be best to wait till the time when the sergeant came in to ask him that question, to inform the sergeant about it, and he would have to go from there as to what the procedures were. I've never gone through it myself before, so I've got no idea what's involved.
All right. Can you please tell His Honour about your observations of Mr. Reid as to his physical appearance?
The clothing was perhaps a bit dishevelled, but aside from that there was nothing to indicate that what he alleged had taken place had actually occurred. Nothing that I could see.
There was a record of an interview that was conducted?
Yes.
You sat in on that?
Yes.
What can you say about the demeanour of Mr. Reid throughout that record of interview?
He was quite relaxed in the interview chair. I find them myself after a period of time very uncomfortable, and he seemed quite relaxed sitting in them, and I've actually seen photos of the injuries that were allegedly occurred by him, and I just can't see how he would have been so comfortable sitting in those chairs with injuries as such.
I don't know about that too much. You say you saw photographs. When did you see those?
They were at the Preston Magistrates Court for the hearing of this particular case that he was arrested over.
On those photographs, did you see injuries to the face?
There was one to the face, I think, around the temple in the photos.
Did you see any injuries to the face at the time of the record of the interview?
No.
And the record was conducted. At one stage, there was a pause in the interview?
Yes.
And what purpose was that for?
That was to take fingerprints.
Did that in fact occur?
Yes, it did.
Did you speak to Mr. Reid at all during that break?
I think he actually popped outside for a smoke, and that was about it. I don't think I actually had a conversation with him at the time that we were having a cigarette.
You walked back into the room and the interview was completed?
Recommenced. Well, sorry, After the fingerprints, it's recommenced to ascertain that I was present when the fingerprints were taken. That normally gets put on the tape, and then they go through the formal caution, charge him in the formal caution, and that's about it.
You were present when you were asked about the treatment of Mr. Reid at the police station?
Yes?
During the interview?
Yes, I was asked by the sergeant at the time.
Did you have any issues with that?
No?
After that, did you see Mr. Reid again?
Yes, I stopped and had a smoke with him outside, and then when I was driving home I had to go round the block and came out on High Street, which is... He walked down. I can't even think of the name of the street where the police station is, straight into High Street. But I actually went round the block, and as I was turning onto High Street I saw him walking down the footpath then.
Can you describe his walk?
I suppose the only way I can put it was the same as normal.
Not distressed in his walking?
No?
Whilst you saw Mr. Reid at the police station, did you see a cut on his bottom lip, a cut on his top lip,
None whatsoever.
or a graze on his top lip?
No?
Any abrasions or scratches to his...
No?
in the front of his forehead?
No?
Did you see his clothing?
Yes?
Did you see any blood on his clothing?
None whatsoever.
Did you see any blood on the floor of the interview room?
No.
Thank you. That's the evidence.
A police officer has admitted in this court that he struck Mr. Reid twice, as hard as he could, with a baton on his leg or his legs. Did you know about that?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
This is the first you've ever heard of that.
Yes.
So this is the first you've ever heard that the police hit Mr. Reid with a baton.
Yes.
And you know very well that Mr. Reid was limping when you saw him in the street after he'd been released when he was going up towards High Street.
I did not see him limping.
Did he have a hat on during the course of the interview?
Oh, I honestly can't recall.
Can't you recall that?
No?
Did he have a black visored cap on or a dark coloured visored cap on?
No, I can't recall that.
Can't you?
No?
Could it be that if he had a black visored cap on, that would have obscured his face to some extent?
No.
Put his face in shadow?
No?
Covered the hematoma that the evidence shows he had on the top of his head here?
If he had a hat on, if you're saying up here and he had a hat on, yes, it would have covered him. But I don't recall him wearing a hat.
So he may have, he may not have, you just don't know.
I can't recall.
Tell us about his clothes then. Were they were dishevelled? Can you tell us more about them? What colour were they?
I think it was a white jacket. Black. I think it was a black T-shirt.
Yes?
And I think it was black tracksuit pants.
Black tracksuit pants, black t-shirt and a white jacket.
I think so, yes.
How often do you attend these interviews?
Over the last year I haven't attended any.
Around about the time. This was February of 2000?
Oh, on average about once a week,
Did you?
at least.
For what period of time have you been doing that?
As I said, 5-6 years.
You had done a training session, had you?
Yes.
The first time you were asked to bring to mind what had happened on this day in February of 2000 was when you made your statement to the police, was it?
Sorry, the statement to the Ethical Standards Department.
Let me ask you this then. Did you make a statement to the police?
Yes.
Did you make that on the 7th of November 2001?
Yes, I believe so. If that's what you've got recorded, yes.
Between February 2000 and 7th November 2001, had you any cause to bring these events to mind?
No. No.
You weren't?
No, I could remember it.
Despite the fact, how many interviews do you think you'd attended in between?
Probably 20 or 30.
What made this one stand out?
Because it was the first time that someone had actually alleged they were assaulted by the police.
Yes, that's right, isn't it?
Yes.
You knew this young man was 15, didn't you?
Yes.
And he told you that he'd been bashed by police.
Yes.
You regarded that as being a very serious allegation, I take it.
Yes.
And yet, when he was put through the attendance register, you didn't utter one peep, did you?
No, I didn't.
Didn't bring it to any senior police officer's attention that he had told you that he'd been bashed.
No.
And he had uttered that expression to you, that he'd been bashed, in private when there was just the two of you there.
Yes.
No police around.
None.
It didn't occur to you that he'd been able to confide that piece of information to you because he'd felt safe with you, being there no other police there?
I outlined to him what was the course of action that he could take. As an independent person, I'm there as a witness, independent. I'm trying to maintain that. I'm not here to act as an advocate.
Now grapple with the question. Didn't it occur to you that he'd told you that? He'd confided that to you in private, knowing that there were no other police around?
Well, no doubt, yes.
Yes, and did you not think it was important to bring to the attention of a senior police officer that this allegation that had been made to you, that he'd been bashed?
I informed him how to go about doing it, and I could see absolutely in my own mind nothing that substantiated the claim.
He was 15, wasn't he?
Yes,
You knew that, didn't you?
yes,
You thought, did you, that a 15-year-old Aboriginal youth was capable of making complaints to senior police about what other police had done to him? Is that what you thought?
no, I'm not there to act as an advocate.
Yes, now answer my question. You thought that a 15-year-old Aboriginal youth was in a position to make complaints to senior police that he'd been bashed by other police. That's what you thought, was it?
Yes,
You didn't utter one word
no,
to anyone in authority
no,
about this allegation that he'd been bashed.
no,
Didn't think it should be investigated.
no.